Have you heard about the model spaceship figure discovered in Turkey? In 1973, scientists conducting excavations in Turkey discovered a fossilized body over 3,000 years old. Initially, the findings were puzzling, but after further it became apparent that the traces might indicate the presence of an advanced extraterrestrial civilization. Upon closer inspection, what appears to be an escape capsule or reconnaissance ship can be seen. The capsule features a space for a pilot and a creature wearing a spacesuit, along with what seems to be an ancient weapon. But before we get started, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and turn on notifications to receive our new videos. In the 1930s, anarchy excavating near a battlefield between the Romans and the Persians stumbled upon an intriguing discovery. Further excavation revealed an ancient building or a complex system of tunnels hidden deep underground, sparking widespread interest in this find. In this tunnel, there were around 20 bodies of soldiers who seemed to have been trying to escape from something or someone. After examining the area, scientists concluded that it was likely that when the Romans learned that the Persians were digging an underground tunnel, they decided to dig their own tunnel in order to launch an attack. The issue was that the Persians were aware of this and set a trap as soon as the Roman soldiers descended into the tunnel. They were met with burning sulfur and tar. This deadly combination is toxic to human lungs. Thus, what was once an ordinary tunnel under the city became a trap, and the bodies remained undiscovered for over 1,000 years. Scientists discovered an ancient grave dating back to the 17th century. It contained the skeleton of a girl. What was most intriguing was that there was a scythe hanging directly above the neck of her corpse, believed to be placed there to prevent her from returning from the dead. Furthermore, it was believed that the buried person was not a human being at all, but rather a dangerous creature, like a vampire. According to vampire legends, the concept has Slavic origins and spread to other cultures following reports of the death of a man from a Serbian village. Allegedly, he showed no signs of decomposition and had fresh blood in his mouth. Perhaps the noblewoman they discovered was truly of this type. Let's hope that the archaeologists did not disturb the grave and release her. The next groundbreaking discovery can be referred to as the Philosopher's Stone because it embodied wisdom and enlightenment. This is in reference to the Rosetta Stone, which was on Earth at the end of the 18th century. Initially, the significance of this discovery was not fully understood when people found the stone within scriptures in different languages. However, with the help of the Rosetta Stone, the ability to decipher its codes completely changed history. This breakthrough made it possible to read Egyptian hieroglyphs for the first time in thousands of years, reviving one of the oldest languages. Before the discovery of the Rosetta Stone, no one could read the ancient Egyptian language because its speakers were all dead. People attempted to decipher it, but the lack of any written text in it, or any other known language at the same time, made it impossible. When the stone was found, it was discovered to have text in ancient Greek as well, which allowed people to decipher it. This enabled scholars to begin studying history, not only through speculation, but also through records left by the ordinary inhabitants of those countries. The stone was created directly after Ptolemy V came to power in 180 BC. The scene in the movie Indiana Jones where a large ball rolls behind him as he runs through a maze is memorable to many people. However, do you know what type of ball it was? These stone balls of Costa Rica, which were a mystery to indigenous tribes, were discovered about 75 years ago. They were hidden in the wild, impenetrable jungle until workers found them while clearing trees for agriculture in 1948. The discovery immediately piqued the interest of scientists. The discovery consisted of several hundred balls of different sizes. The largest ball was 3 meters in diameter and weighed about 16 tons, while the smallest did not exceed 10 centimeters in diameter. When viewed from above, the researchers were shocked to see the arrangement of the stones. The stones were found either on their own or in groups, with some groups containing 3 stones, and others as many as 45. Although it was initially assumed that the balls were stacked by people, it remains unclear for what purpose and how the stone carvings arrived in this area. In other excavations in Greece, ancient lead tablets containing a curse were discovered. In the past, people used to place curses in graves and bury them deep in the ground, hoping that the forces of the afterlife would quickly hear the person's calls. The victim's name could be written on the tablet, and sometimes several names were visible at once. In 300 BC, the government learned about this practice and took steps to stop it. The king appointed individuals to monitor and prevent the burial of tablets in graves or underground. This law reduced the number of violators on earth. However, it led to a new form of curses, as people started throwing tablets into wells. Because water held significant meaning in Greek lives, they also threw various gifts, including incense pots, into the wells. In modern times, one of these wells was discovered containing Greek gifts and around 30 lead plaques with the names of victims. Some were intended to secure an invitation, while others aimed to curse opponents in disputes or seek victory in sports. It remains uncertain whether all these requests and curses should be removed, as they may belong down there. The Gigas Codex, also known as the Devil's Gospel Codex, is the largest and one of the strangest medieval manuscripts ever found. Surrounded by various legends and mysteries, this book is notable for its size and its unique representation of Satan. The codex is so large that it requires more than 160 covers. It is very heavy and requires 2 people to lift it, and the devil is depicted as at least 1 meter tall. The Gospel of Satan is named due to a legend claiming that the manuscript resulted from a pact with the devil. The handwriting consistency suggests a single writer, believed to be a monk sentenced to death. According to the legend, the monk offered to be released if he could write a book full of worldly knowledge in one night. To accomplish this impossible task, he allegedly made a pact with the devil, selling his soul in exchange for help. This allowed him to complete the manuscript and gain his freedom. The book contains a complete translation of the Bible into Latin. In addition to other useful texts, it is noteworthy that the book depicts Satan. On one of its pages, he is depicted with large claws on the ends of his arms, red horns, small red eyes, a green head, and 2 long red tongues. On the next page, scholars interpret the decision to depict the city of Al-Hurra and Satan next to each other as symbolic. The author's message seems to be a reflection of what awaits people based on whether they live a good or bad life. The Mystery Stone was discovered in 1872 by a man in Meredith, New Hampshire. While drilling holes in the wall of his house, workers found a strange black and egg-colored stone made of cordite, a tough rock not found in the area. The stone also had engravings of a human face, an ear of corn, and an Indian wigwam. These engravings are mysterious, as scientists are still puzzled about how they were made. Additionally, the fact that the stone has not been touched by scientists recently suggests that the study of it may have been stopped due to uncomfortable questions it raises. In the 17th century, a nun named Isabella Tomasi claimed to have become possessed. The evidence for this is a letter she wrote herself, stating that she woke up in the middle of the night with her hands covered in ink and a strange, incomprehensible text in a foreign language in her lap. She showed the note to her colleagues, but they could not help. After more than 300 years, scientists were able to decrypt the text using a program created by a group of Italian programmers. It turned out that the phrases written by Isabella had no connection between them. One phrase said, "God does not help people," and another said, "God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit." The translated text was not relevant, leading people to conclude that the nun had a seizure and wrote the text herself. Isabella knew several languages and may have been able to write in some of them. According to some sources, she suffered from schizophrenia. Upon arrival at the site in India, a group of researchers analyzed the soil but found nothing of interest. They decided to move on to study the nearby caves, which turned out to be a crucial decision. Inside the caves, they discovered traces of a civilization, including encounters with a member of an unknown race. This being was able to communicate in all languages and claimed to have been observing humans without perceiving them as a threat. However, I find this story hard to believe, as encountering an alien who can communicate without providing any evidence other than a picture seems strange. What are your thoughts on this? When people think of the moon, they often think of Apollo 11, the manned spacecraft that landed on the moon from July 16 to 24, 1969. This historic mission marked the first time in history that humans set foot on another celestial body. One intriguing detail from this mission is a photo taken by the astronauts, which shows a stone on the lunar surface that bears a striking resemblance to a fossilized human skull. Despite its resemblance, the skull does not belong to a human, and it has symmetrical eye sockets, nose, and mouth. It's puzzling that NASA remained silent about this photo for many years. I believe that if the researchers had brought back even a small part of this skull, it could have led to significant changes in the theory of evolution and altered the course of scientific understanding. On April 3, 1973, humanity made the first mobile phone call, marking the beginning of the digital era we live in today. I recently came across a strange clip from the movie The Secret by Charlie Chaplin, released in 1928, where a girl appears to be using a mobile phone. This seems impossible, given that mobile phones weren't known at that time. Various theories have been proposed to explain this, including the possibility of her using a radio or displaying signs of schizophrenia. Some suggested that she was covering her face to hide the fact that she was speaking with a voice, or that a passerby was attempting to avoid being filmed. Skeptics believe the scene is fake and was added by amateur filmmakers. However, the most popular theory is that she is a time traveler accidentally caught on camera. Personally, I find the time traveler theory intriguing, as many unexplained phenomena throughout history defy understanding even after many years. This image appears less mysterious and dangerous than it really is. 3 people are standing next to a bed, pointing their fingers at the wall. To those unfamiliar with the story, it may seem crazy, but trust me, you would act the same if you were in their place. One night, a little boy started hearing knocking sounds from behind the wall. At first, he thought it was just some construction work and none of his business. However, when the knocking continued for days, he decided to ask his parents. They looked at him in surprise and didn't believe him. To confirm, they stayed up all night, and the sounds became louder. Despite several investigations that revealed no spirits in the room, there was still a knocking sound coming from behind the wall, right in front of the investigators. The Dyatlov Pass in the northern Ural Mountains is the setting for one of the last pictures they took. This trip ended in a mysterious tragedy, as is well known. The individuals' bodies were positioned far apart from each other in a strange manner, and each of them had sustained serious injuries. No one has yet been able to determine exactly what happened to the students. Perhaps this story will remain a mystery for centuries, unfortunately. If I were to show you this photo, what would be the first thing that comes to your mind? A monster from the movie Alien? Or perhaps that this mouth is not real? Well, you would be wrong on both accounts. What we are actually looking at is the jaws of a leatherback sea turtle. These structures serve as a form of teeth, extending not only into the throat, but also throughout the entire esophagus, with the outgrowths facing inward. This design prevents prey from escaping even with great effort. Fortunately for us, these turtles do not pose a threat to humans. Their diet typically consists of crustaceans, algae, and jellyfish. Freddie Jackson, after the war, couldn't help but feel happy. It was that way and always would be. However, this process could sometimes evoke the strangest feelings. At first glance, the picture seemed unremarkable. It depicted a whole squadron that had served soldiers during the First World War and had decided to take a souvenir photo. Everyone looked happy, and there were even some unexpected individuals present. Among them was Freddie Jackson, a man who had served with the others. What's so strange about this? Well, Freddie had died during the war. However, the soldier appeared in the final image. Is this possible? In 1975, Diane Pretriot, her husband Peter, and their 12-year-old son visited a church. While Diane was praying silently, Peter took a picture of her. At first, it seemed like a normal photo, but when they got home, they were horrified to discover a white shadow behind Diane. The figure appeared to be wearing a hat and old clothes. Concerned, they returned to the church the next day to inquire about the mysterious figure. They were relieved to learn from a church worker that the spirit was not malevolent, but actually a good spirit that appears near those in need of healing. Diana realized that she had been very ill, but after visiting the church, she felt much better. In the picture, what appears odd? How many people are there? A girl is sitting, a boy on the left, their friend, and a small dog. However, on the right, someone is watching the kids play and seems ready to pounce. According to legend, a man with long legs and arms, wearing a suit, chases children, hypnotizes them, and makes them do terrible things. There is even a story of a missing person. The photographer's identity is unknown. The good news is that the children were unharmed, although they have no memory of that day. This is a picture taken near Hook Island. While people were sailing, they saw a mysterious monster under the water. It was clear that it was not a big fish or a research tool for scientists. The creature was strange and giant. However, they were able to take a picture and escape. The events in this picture date back to the year 1960. At that time, an unusual black flying object was spotted near Earth's orbit. The American Army suspected it was a spy and considered shooting it down, but the final order was delayed. The Black Knight was spotted several times, appearing and disappearing without leaving a trace, from different angles. Some believe it is a 1,000-year-old satellite from outside Earth, while others suggest it may be debris. However, if it is debris, it's puzzling how it can constantly fly around and appear in different parts. The forest is teeming with frightening creatures, such as the skunk monkey. It was first sighted in 1942 by some tourists. They took a picture and sent it to the local sheriff. According to the comments attached to the image, the monkey-like creature screamed for 3 consecutive nights and emitted a foul smell. Finally, it ran away. I have seen many monkeys, but this one is perhaps the strangest and most frightening, with its glowing red eyes, fanged teeth, and terrifying appearance.